This is the technical difficulty bot. This episode's messed up. We apologize and we are working on it.
Audio issues.
Guten Tag. Welcome to the A.N.I.M.E. podcast. That is for armadillos, meat, ice. Oh my goodness, I can't spell. Armadillos, Nancy's in mice, elephant. Yeah. Don't try to read into that. There's no meaning behind that.
How to form a sentence with now.
I feel like that's a FMA character that we just never saw because the author was like, no, that's way too much.
I'm sorry.
Nina Alexander was already pretty bad. What if I did this, people would just put the manga down.
Also, I just realized I sounded really harsh. That was great. That was a great intro. I meant to sound sarcastic. No. When I was like, how to form a sentence with now, I thought that would be like funny, but then I was like, that just sounds mean. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, English expert. How about you do it?
Anteaters name.
You even stole anteaters.
Illegitimate men explorers. I don't.
That does not sound good.
No, that's not a good sentence either.
You're ruining our family-friendly tag.
Wait, what?
You're gonna get our family-friendly tag taken away.
What wasn't family-friendly? I don't even remember what I said. Okay. Now. Sorry. Do you want to go? Do you want to keep going? Keep going.
Yes, let's go. To Tokyo. Sure. So what have y'all been up to? What have you been watching recently?
I guess I'll go. I think I mentioned this last time. I've been rewatching Goblin Slayer. I'm currently almost done with the first season. Just coming over through it, it's been really interesting, and I really can't wait to watch the movie. And I can't wait to see more of that series, because honestly, the entire setting about that I love it. Obviously, the first episode has a lot of issues that come up, but I think overall the storytelling for that series is really nice.
Since the last podcast episode we recorded, I haven't really watched a lot of anime, to be honest. I've been watching, I've been sick and also watching VTuber content and also just trying to relax, but we have been watching Kimono Michi. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Kimono Michi.
Just say Animal Mask.
Animal Mask together, the three of us. And that has been very fun. Eddie introduced Atano and I to it, and that has been fun. What about you, Atanao?
Well, I've been watching that anime, animal anime. Oh my goodness, that you just mentioned, Whimsy. I've also been watching the second season of Noragami, which is good, but it's been for some reason getting through Noragami has really been tough for me to actually trudge through it. It's really strange because usually when I like a show, it should not be so hard to get through it, but this is just one of those shows for me. I have been watching some more anime on Netflix World. One that comes to mind is The Drifting Dragons. Still haven't quite finished it. Hope to finish it so that I can end my suffering, but I think that one it's sitting there because it is suffering.
I was about to say, I really hope you don't finish Drifting Dragons. I hope it drifts away from you, because every time you describe it, it just seems like it's just more pain.
Are we doing the puns again? Is this gonna be
a
thing?
No, that's just a thing. It's a feature.
No,
it's not a bug. It's a feature of the podcast.
Oh no.
No.
No. Why did we invite this guy?
Why am I here? I just
because he's attached to your hip.
That's true. This is true.
We're not a homunculus.
We do share a room.
We're not Nina Alexander. We can just not exist in the same space.
Now, if you and I just did a podcast, he would just be in the background shouting. So, we just had to reluctantly be like, well, you might as well come sit down, and be a part of the team.
That happens 90% of the time you two are hanging out. So yeah, that's completely accurate.
Okay, that's harsh, and I'm just kidding. But
so mean to
this
me.
is a good segue to talk about our friendship, like now and our friendship, and then how I introduced you to her, and it was just like at the time I really wasn't as into anime yet, so I was just like, I can't wait for you to meet my friend Aunt now. You guys are gonna like get along so well, I think. And then you guys met, and then it was just you two became best anime buds, and I was just like,
Yeah.
Cool.
But I mean, that's pretty normal. Like, every time I've met one of your friends,
It was funny.
it's basically I've become better friends with them than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Immediately.
Through power of
That sounds
anime.
terrible.
You guys bond, because the same
I
thing
know,
happened
it
with
does.
another
It
one of my
sounds-
friends.
It sounds awful.
You guys bond through the power of anime, but
Oh yeah, when I met your other friend,
You mean
we
Squirrel
spent-
Man?
yes, Squirrel Man. We'll just call him Squirrel Man. But I am now getting into anime more and more and more, and I consider myself pretty weeby at this point, in a lot of ways. So now I can bond with people through the power of anime.
But you spent
Oh
all
my
week
goodness,
watching
you're learning the
VTubers.
power of friendship.
But she spent all week watching VTuber stuff instead of watching shows to talk about on the podcast.
Okay, it's been only a week since we recorded the last episode because we're recording some things up front, and I was sick for like a chunk of that, excuse me. And we
Excuses.
actually did watch, I believe, didn't we watch more Yakitate Japan actually?
Fresh Baked Japan.
We
Wait,
did.
Yes.
Oh,
So I have watched anime. Thank you very much. Excuse me.
I can't wait to see more of Koala. Like, every time we start that show, I'm like, where's Koala? I need to see this man. He just, like, appears, like, out of the corner of the room. This giant, like, martial arts muscles. It's just so great.
That show's amazing.
Every time.
I love it. Also, oh wait. I
Remember
thought
that time that Kawachi made that mom cry because he, like, went full out because he thought she was gonna beat him really, really easily?
Oh, Hands
and
of
she
the
just
Mommy.
started crying because of
Yeah.
how hard she lost.
So no. She didn't cry. No, wait. Did she cry? No, she said, "Thank you, young man. You were a great competition."
She was crying on the
But
inside.
but like he cried in anticipation of like, because basically when they were gonna compete, he dismissed her at first. He's just like, "Oh, some middle-aged woman. Wow, she can't bake. Middle-aged woman can't bake." And then the manager of the store didn't like that he was like dismissing her and like acting all arrogant. So he's just like, "You'd better watch out, boy, because she has the magical hands of the mommy." And
She's the most talented baker for the elementary school in this province. What are you talking about, Kawachi?
And then, like, he got so scared of this mystical hands of the mommy thing that the manager just made up that he started crying. It was great.
wow.
He panicked, and he made, like, a really good recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
For, what was it? It was a melon bread, or was it a different... No, it was yakisoba bread, wasn't it?
Yeah, this time it was
yakisoba
yakisoba bread.
Yeah.
And
And
also,
then she cried.
she didn't cry. She was like, "Wow,
And
young
then
man."
Kawachi was like, yeah, I beat the hands of the mommy.
It was such a meme. But like, okay, if you guys need even more convincing to watch Fresh Baked Japan, I want you. I can't play it here because immediate demonetization, copyright claims. But what I can do is I can send you guys to look up Yakitate Japan ED2, so the second ending, and then when I'm editing this video, I'm gonna take however long that ending is and just leave a pause that length in the video, and you better spend that pause listening to the second ending. Take that, copyright, YouTube copyright
Wow.
things.
Wow, they can't stop us now. Our power has grown too strong.
All right, 2-minute pause. Here we go. It is time for a commercial break, and here's what I have to say. If you are hearing this commercial, you are not going and listening to Yakitate Japan ED number 2. What are you doing with your life? Pause this video, go listen to Yakitate number 2, follow directions. Geez, what the heck? What the heck? Well, this is why you don't succeed, because you do not follow directions. This is 3rd grade stuff. Go watch it now. Do it. I hate you.
You didn't say directions correctly.
I don't care. I don't have to say directions. I have to follow directions. All right? This isn't speaking class. This is go watch.
This is way too long.
Yakitate. The video is 2 minutes. We told them to spend 2 minutes watching the thing.
But they're not supposed to be listening to us. They're supposed to be watching it.
Exactly. Get off, weeb. Pause this and come back. Goodbye. And we're
that
back!
sucked.
I love this ending so much. It's the best ending ever.
It was great.
It's so good.
What a great pause. Welcome back, by the way. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yep.
So you describing like an ED that's kind of like, insane. It actually reminds me, well, I guess this wasn't an ED. I'm pretty sure this was the OP. Honey and Clover's first opening. Okay, so we might have to put a link to this one too into the episode, but basically it's like live action food just being spun around, and then it ends with like, I guess you could call it a jump scare from the food. Like, I'm not even joking. It's really weird. It's really strange. I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but it like when you're like going to the show, you're not expecting live action food. It's kind of creepy. I'm pretty sure it's live action. Oh my god, it's been so long. Honey and Clover. Have either of you actually seen Honey and Clover?
No, I haven't
have
seen
not.
It's, I don't know how well it holds up. Like, I feel like a lot of people would say that it's like super good or whatever, but it's been so long since I've seen it. I mean, it's from the same creator of March Comes In Like a Lion, and that one's
Oh.
definitely good.
Yeah, I love that series.
Yeah, I bet like, like most likely what people would say is like March Comes In Like a Lion is more likely like the magnum opus of that creator or whatever. Or something like that. But I also find it really interesting when creators have like more than one show or like series under their belt that like is like gains a lot of popularity, especially like when like a series that comes out later becomes more popular than their first. I find that really interesting. Like, I guess like the creator of Inuyasha would fall under that category because I think Ranma came out before Inuyasha, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it did, because Inuyasha was, I believe, was finishing around. No, actually, yeah, the anime finished. Didn't the anime finish like not actually that long ago? And they're starting that second series now, where it's like a continuation from the show.
I think Inuyasha ended like maybe like 7 years ago or something. It's been a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it was like somewhere around 2012, 2013. I know that because I remember looking up like the last released movie for Inuyasha, and it was actually like way more recent than I thought.
Yeah, it really feels like a show that should have ended like I don't know, 10 years ago? Or more?
That
I
makes
don't know.
it sound like you didn't like Inuyasha. Did you not like Inuyasha?
No, it's just like it feels like such a 2005 show. It just feels like it ended like it just feels like it would have ended a while ago because it's not it doesn't feel quite as long running as like something like Naruto or Bleach, where it's like the fact that it ends at all is really shocking, like in itself.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Did
Yeah.
you start Inuyasha a bit, honey?
I was gonna say, maybe I should try to give Inuyasha another try, because Inuyasha was actually when I was very new to anime, and all I had really watched was Brotherhood and Angel Beats. I got a recommendation to watch Inuyasha from somebody at work, and I gave it a try, and maybe I like it and appreciate it more now that I have more like sort of anime knowledge and background, but at the time I just couldn't get into it, to be honest.
I do find that really interesting because I think Inuyasha is considered one of like the common gateway animes. So it kind of not like resonating with you even like kind of as someone newer to anime. I just find that very, very interesting. I wonder I can't say that it's not a good gateway anime just because it didn't work out for you, but it still does raise like an interesting question. Maybe it's not as good of a gateway anime now than it was back then, potentially, or something like that.
Maybe, or maybe age plays into it or something. I don't know, because like I'm hesitant to even talk about my experience of it because I'm just so distant from it that I really can't remember. And also, like, sometimes you get like a bias looking back on something you can barely remember because you remember like the negatives more exaggeratedly. Plus, I just didn't know as much about anime, so I'm kind of hesitant to even talk about like what didn't work about it. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt. It could just be wrong. You can yell at me in the comments.
No, it's wrong.
But okay, all right. Then you know what? That's it then.
No,
That's it.
talk about it.
It's wrong though. Why would I say it if it's wrong?
Because I want people to laugh at you in the comments.
I want everyone to laugh at Eddie in the comments.
They already do that.
Just throw in a ha ha ha.
They already do. Do you not think that's why they come and listen to my wrong opinions?
Wow, so they come for you, huh?
No, not for me.
Huh? Oh, just to
Definitely
laugh at
not.
you?
I'm pretty sure they mute the audio every time I'm talking. That's why I'm trying to intersperse it in between when you guys are talking, so they can't avoid me now. Yes,
okay.
We need to have time codes each time you talk.
Here.
It's time codes when he's not talking. When they hear him talk, they skip to the next time code. It's like when the next person starts talking. That seems more functional.
It's so mean.
I am though curious, because I will just say that Inuyasha is one of those series, from my standpoint, a lot of people kind of make fun of for certain things. And I'm curious if like maybe those things are what you picked up on and are kind of the things that kind of turned you away from the series. I don't want to say what these things are, and we'll keep saying things until I hear what you were actually thinking.
See, I'm just so hesitant to say it because like
say it.
This was my impression at the time, and it's probably totally wrong, and also I didn't watch, like, a ton of the series. I tried to give it a good chance. I watched, like, a good few episodes. I don't know the number. But, like, I kept waiting for the story to feel like it made some narrative sense. And I remember it just not making a lot of narrative sense to me. But keep in mind, huge bias, because I really hadn't watched a lot of anime up until that point. So, like, it might make a lot more narrative sense to me now that I'm used to just different like types of narrative storytelling. There's a scritchy scratch noise happening in the background. What is that?
I hear that too.
Time for a commercial.
Woot woot.
Do you like filler? Do you like shows that have about 1/3 of their whole show being filler, but everything that's not filler is actually really good and does a great job exploring historical Japan, specifically in the Meiji era? Then you should watch Rurouni Kenshin.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right, so I think we got the audio issues out of the way, guys. I was just saying that, like, I had an experience of Inuyasha, but I have no idea as to the validity of any of the criticisms I just said because I can barely remember it. That was just my experience at the time. So again, how valid any of that is, I cannot speak to.
Inuyasha sucks.
That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Otna?
Well, I find that wasn't what I was expecting you to say in terms of the criticism, like based on what I've heard about Inuyasha in the past. But I do find it interesting because I think from what I recall of the series, it basically starts as the goal is there's this super powerful MacGuffin that you need to go find that's broken into a bunch of different parts. So you're going to have a bunch of misadventures because the MacGuffin is super powerful and is going to cause a lot of things to go awry. But like, I do think it takes a while until they introduce like a main villain. So it's kind of like one-off adventures as they at first while they like keep collecting these MacGuffins. I also realize I think I'm misusing the term MacGuffin because MacGuffins technically do the shards of the Shikon Jewel actually do things, but they like basically it is. The Shikon Jewel is basically just something to get things in to happen, even though they do have like some powers that actually affect things. But yeah, I go on.
I do remember that. Like, okay, this is what's so weird about it is I actually do remember what the plot line, like the overarching plot line was, which seems to contradict the no narrative structure. So this is why I'm so hesitant to even talk about this because I don't want it to just sound like because I was exposed to a non-Western story and it wasn't the Western narrative structure I'm used to, that I was like judgmental towards it. Like, I don't think that was it, but I'm worried that's just like how it comes across. That's what it sounds like. But again, like I cannot remember enough to even really like defend against that. Like, I just need to watch Inuyasha, honestly. Now I feel like I should give it another shot so I could come back and talk about like whether or not it jogged my memory about what issues I had with it before, because I really just don't want to sound like this ethnocentric American who's just like, pshaw, this narrative form of storytelling is so like not good, because that's totally not like my attitude about things. I don't know.
You hate anime. Just say it. Just say you don't like anime.
Hey,
say
I
it.
love anime.
No, you should definitely
I'm picky.
should.
I'm very picky.
You
but
are
that
very picky.
I'm very picky. But like
You should give Inuyasha another chance.
I should.
And yes, I know I said it sucks, but I watched Inuyasha. I enjoyed some of it.
You were so mean.
So should you.
You were so mean. But like, it's weird because like, sorry, were you gonna say something? No, I feel like I cut you off.
Oh no, you go.
Oh, it's weird because like, even at the time, like I make it sound like at the time I was narrow-minded. Like, I was studying anthropology, right? Like, I was used to different like cultural ideas and different like, I don't know. So I don't know I'm trying to really like figure out like what about it was so off-putting to me. And I wasn't brand new to anime. Like, I'd watched Brotherhood, and it's so weird. Now I am curious. Now I think I will go back and watch Inuyasha.
You know what's really funny?
I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I do find it interesting because I don't know how common this is in like Western shows. I feel like I definitely see this in like comic book TV series, but I don't know how common it is in other series. But like a series like Inuyasha starts off with like first episode or so they'll introduce this is the plot line. But then later on, they'll introduce, oh, but while this is going on, there's also this bigger thing going on that's like gonna pull in the characters and is a lot more threatening. Like Full Metal Alchemist does this as well. Like you start off with your plot is, or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but also Full Metal Alchemist. But you start off with the goal is to get your the characters want to get their bodies back. But then they get pulled into all this stuff related to the country and how it's supposed to sort of survive and stuff like that. But basically, it's not completely upfront in the beginning of the show about exactly what a huge portion of the show will actually be about. And maybe you kind of got more of a sense of that in Inuyasha, where it didn't feel like it was the complete story that was being presented to you, and you wanted the full thing to be presented more straight upfront, potentially.
Maybe. And also too, like, maybe there was just a bias because I had just watched like a masterpiece of storytelling, and then Angel Beats, which is also good. So maybe also I just went into it with like the wrong mindset, or it was, I can't remember how Saturday like cartoony Inuyasha is, or if it's more serious. It is. So that probably had a big part of it too. Like, I just wasn't in the right mindset maybe for like Saturday cartoon type things, because I had just watched things that were a little more serious. So I feel like all those things could have been factors. Like, I just didn't go into it, like, as much as I don't like to be judgmental of things, like maybe I was a bit judgmental, or I just didn't go into it with like the right mindset. But now I've watched like Naruto, and like I feel like now I could definitely go into it with like a even more open mind. So I'm not going to promise to watch Inuyasha right now because I have too much going on, but I'm definitely in the near future I want to give it another try, because I don't like being this like, what is my opinion on something that I have opinions about.
It's okay, everyone else does. I think you're fine. And actually, thinking about it now, in terms of like older anime that kind of had that feeling, I would compare it to other things that probably came out around the same time, which is like Yu Yu Hakusho, the really old version of Hunter x Hunter, like the original animation for that. I feel like there was this constant thread of like, this is a Saturday morning cartoon, but there are some more serious things that happen within the plot line. And I know that Inuyasha doesn't really get to those at first, but it does as it continues on in the show. And I feel like, in a sense, that's kind of what draws people in more into the series. Because I know there are some fans who are like, I just watch it because I love to see the characters interact, and I understand that. Because the character interactions are like half of what I love about that series, alongside the really interesting like Japanese folklore stories that get woven in into like, this is the villain of the moment type of scenarios.
I do remember a spider lady.
Yeah, she's like, I think it's a centipede lady. She's like one of the first
Yeah.
villains. Yeah.
Actually, I do remember when I was watching Inuyasha, I was living in a dorm. It wasn't a dorm, actually. It was like a shared apartment where like students all, go online and they're looking for housing, and then everybody ends up rooming together. And there was a guy who I was living with like very briefly, and he actually came downstairs and was like, "Are you watching cartoons?" And he was just like so intrigued by it. Like he didn't really know anything about anime. He was just like, "What is this?" And I was explaining like, "Oh, it's Japanese, like it's in Japan, like, cartoons are like for all ages." And he was just like really intrigued. It was very interesting. Just side note. But yes, I did have the cartoons thing happen while watching Inuyasha.
That guy became a weeb after. Like that, 100%. That guy became a weeb after, and it's your fault.
We're gonna find him one day. Like he's online. He has like a channel, right? We're gonna discover that he has like an in-depth, deep dive Inuyasha channel, where he dives into all of the episodes.
You made someone's life worse. How does that feel?
Better, excuse me.
They're a weeb now.
You're right. This is a curse. Run away.
You cursed him.
Run away.
Side note, Whimsy, are you standing closer to the mic than Eddie? I'm not getting any feedback from Eddie's voice, but I'm getting feedback from you.
This is a thing. Eddie actually stands way too far away from the mic all the time, and every time I edit episodes, I tell him this. I'm like, Eddie, you have to be closer to the mic. You sound too quiet.
But you understand that what she just said is you're wrong.
Oh, because I'm getting too much
either
feedback.
Need to move away from the mic or come at it from the side like I do, because it causes crisper, more clear audio.
All right.
Miss.
How is this? Is this crispy? Is this crispy enough for you, huh?
But
If I stand here, does it sound better / louder?
Close to the mic.
definitely louder.
Okay.
I will back up a little bit. I'm like, here?
Okay.
Hold on, I need like a measurement. I'm gonna use this banana.
That's a plantain. I made his life better. Let's be honest.
Okay. So I do have like some thoughts in terms of Inuyasha in general, because one thing that like kind of like coming back and like seeing, the people that are thinking about Inuyasha again after so long, I'm seeing couple of things pop up a lot. The large discussions about like how Inuyasha basically says every other word that he says is Kagome, and Kagome, every other word is Inuyasha. They keep like yelling at each other in the like lovers can't be with each other kind of way, which was definitely a trope back then. And I feel like we still kind of have that nowadays, but Inuyasha was, from what I recall, really like a big one for that. And then Seishiro, I feel like, was a lot of people's first like husbandos before they knew what a husbando was.
Lord Seishomaru.
Oh, Seishomaru.
I always love that. All these characters being like, Lord Seishomaru, I'm here to serve you. And he's like, okay.
Oh, that's kind of a side note. Another show that I've been watching recently, it has been Saint Seiya. And one of the fascinating things going on to the wiki of Saint Seiya was I found out that so basically all the main characters are dudes. But apparently, like, I guess like it was a big series for like helping to create yaoi communities, because like most of the main characters were like guys. So
that totally makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Thinking about the series, that totally makes, because like I didn't really think about it when I saw the series at first. Also, I'm gonna explain that like Saint Seiya is a really interesting series in itself, because I've never seen a anime that is so like the interest in it is so fanatic when it comes to like Mexico and Latin American countries in comparison to like America, that like over there it's like a legendary anime. And thinking back now, the first time I saw it was on a Spanish network channel in America, at like airing as a cartoon. I realized that might have been the first anime I've ever seen. I was just looking at it. I was like, what is this? Is a cartoon. That guy's shooting horses out of his fists.
Wait,
This seems interesting, but I can't really understand. Yeah,
that sounds
I can't really explain
amazing.
that. I can't really explain that part either. Saint Seiya is its own thing. Another thing too, the design.
Go
I
ahead.
think this is the first time I saw male characters with really like it. I feel like there's this interesting niche of like pretty boy designs that existed during the 90s. Because if you look, their eyes are like the size of like dinner plates, right? But they're all really muscular at the same. It's like this really interesting like combination of like we have to draw really cute anime eyes and like really boyish features, but they're also gonna be ripped and shredded as much as possible.
So it's an 80s series. So like them being ripped does not seem very surprising to me just because like what else came from the 80s? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a J and then another J soon after. Jojo.
Jojo.
Honestly, I'm surprised like looking at Jojo that they're not more bulky.
I didn't realize JoJo was from the 80s. I thought it was more recent.
Oh, it's very old. JoJo is like historical.
I still have
The
to watch
anime
JoJo.
is recent.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the manga. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes
Same
sense.
with the
Yeah.
manga.
Well, okay. I still have to watch JoJo. Sorry, before you go to JoJo, finish your thought about Saint Seiya, because there's a lot with JoJo.
Oh, I was gonna say like, it's really interesting to think. I think it's really interesting to say because Saint Seiya, I feel like, is kind of what spawned the idea behind JoJo. But JoJo has just been such a chaotic entity in itself. Like every time I think about JoJo, I feel like a person didn't write JoJo. An intelligent AI that studied manga and anime wrote JoJo. Because like the first series in itself is just such like a a world unto its own in comparison to the next one, and then in comparison to the next one, and they're all just like so like hair thin line like connections and the just random things they have in like in the second series they're fighting aliens that were worshipped as gods who appear to people as muscular men, and then they found out about them because of Nazi science, and one of the characters is like a general who altered his body with robotics and then put a machine gun in his arm, and then he fights one of the aliens.
You're forgetting though, the aliens are also vampires.
Oh, yeah,
They're
they're-
vampire aliens.
They're vampire aliens. Yeah, that's
So
right.
they're basically what is that movie called? They're oh shoot. Help me here, Whimsy. The one with the vampire aliens. What is that movie called?
Why'd you ask me? I'm the one who's seen
'Cause
like
you know.
very
You
few
know this
movies.
movie.
No, I'm talking
Why?
about
You know
live
this movie.
action.
You know this movie.
No, I
How
know,
do
but I know very few live action movies too. I've
You
never
No,
even
know
you
seen.
this
were obsessed with
movie.
this movie. What is it called?
You've
I've
seen
never-
it before. What is the movie?
I've never even seen The Matrix. I haven't seen Pulp Fiction. I am the
No, but we're
wrong
not
what
asking
is
about
person.
movies you've seen.
Oh,
and you haven't seen.
Rocky
We're asking-
Horror Picture Show.
Oh wait, oh duh.
Wait, Rocky
What?
Horror has vampire alien men?
Well,
with
the
muscles?
vampire aesthetic. Yeah.
Wait, Rocky Horror is
No, well,
anime.
isn't he a vampire? But then he gets to go back to his home planet, so he's a vampire alien.
Okay.
Oh my god.
You know what?
It
He is a sweet transsexual, sweet transvestite from Transylvania. I don't think it ever actually says he's a vampire, but yes,
Okay, but
he's
have you
from
seen
Transylvania.
the shit that
So I
shows
think
up
I
in
think
Rocky
But
Horror?
I was
I
trying to
thought he
remember
was
like
an
was
alien.
also an alien.
I was trying to remember the lyrics to the song.
Are you
But
saying Rocky Horror is not an alien? He creates a person.
no, he is an alien. He is an alien. I was talking about the vampire part.
Oh,
I was
wait.
saying I was saying there's no explicit like moment where they deal with vampirism. There is cannibalism.
I was joking. I didn't even know that he was an alien. Was he an
Yeah.
alien? Did they
Yeah.
talk about that?
They're aliens. Yeah.
Spoiler
What?
for Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh yeah,
I
sorry.
mean,
everyone.
okay, come on. That's not.
I
That's
didn't
not.
know he was an alien.
Yeah.
I watched that movie like twice.
Have you?
3 times. 3 times.
Okay, sweet transvestite or from
Beyond the Stars.
something Transylvania, but there's no like explicit vampire. I'm just trying to, yeah, but vampire aesthetic. That's correct. I don't know why I got so stuck on that. I was like, does it mention vampirism?
I
Cannibalism.
don't remember mentioning
Definite
aliens.
cannibalism.
Oh, I remember that part. I remember
Yeah.
the cannibalism part. I thought that was just like, never mind. I'm not gonna. I can't question. I have no knowledge of Rocky Horror. It seems. But
You know what?
Rocky Horror is an anime, and it was inspired by JoJo. That claim I will make.
Isn't
That's a
it
bold-
from the
that's a
80s?
bold
So
claim.
maybe they were just
Yeah.
like made as co-productions?
I don't think Rocky Horror was inspired by
I like
JoJo.
to think that Araki, the author of JoJo, was there as Rocky Horror was being filmed, and
Maybe-
was like, I must make this into a manga.
Maybe Richard O'Brien and the mangaka for JoJo were friends or something. I don't know.
I don't really think so.
Wait. Wait, his name is Araki.
Yeah, Araki.
Araki. Rocky Horror.
Oh my
Oh my
god! The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. That totally makes sense though, because the man that I was about to say Araki, the man that Rocky in the Rocky Horror Picture Show makes the human, the man.
Yeah, Rocky.
Oh, that's his name, Rocky?
Yes.
Oh, the man that he makes.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
the test tube man.
Yes.
The
it's
perfect man.
Rocky.
That's a JoJo character.
Okay. Wait, have you been to a showing of Rocky Horror while we're on the topic?
Yes, we did. Remember we went with
Okay,
Alex.
I've been with a bunch of people. I'm sorry. I for some reason don't distinctly remember that. That's horrible. Oh my god, I'm a terrible girlfriend.
Yeah, he dressed up. Don't you remember?
I do. No, I do remember now. Now that
Yeah.
you, yeah, okay. For some reason though, we should go again. I feel like that was college times, all a blur,
I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a podcast.
and a pandemic. I didn't mean right now. Yeah, let's go right now. Why do I not distinctly remember that? I'm a horrible girlfriend. Wow.
I mean, you're just a bad person in general, but that's okay. So JoJo.
So JoJo,
JoJo.
we should go again.
JoJo.
Okay, are we on JoJo now? You're done
JoJo.
with okay.
JoJo.
I was just
We're
gonna
done with Rocky
say
Horror?
about
JoJo.
JoJo. Would you let me talk then?
JoJo.
Why am I so tired again? All right.
Jojo.
No more loopy manicness. I talk about JoJo now. Okay.
JoJo.
So I'm gonna start talking, and Eddie's immediately gonna say JoJo again and not let me talk. Ready? Ready for it? Okay. So speaking of JoJo, I think about this a lot because I know that I eventually have to watch JoJo. Like, right? It's like classic community staple, and I really want to watch JoJo because it has all the things that I love. It has lots of cheese. All right. I love cheesy, muscly men as like a comedy bit. Like it's hilarious. It has like just the perfect brand of corniness. I know I'll probably like it. But the issue, and this was actually recently talked about on the another anime podcast, the Trash Chase podcast. So I want to give credit where credit is due, if I'm paraphrasing it all. The issue is that like JoJo is such a thing that everyone feels like they have to like it or they're like not a true weeb, that there's just so much pressure like built up around watching JoJo that I don't want to watch it. Like I don't, if I do learn that I don't like JoJo, I want to put that off like as long as possible because it's just like a really like daunting thing. Like what if I don't like JoJo and I'm like a bad weeb?
Then you
Like,
don't like JoJo.
I know
Why
that.
would we judge you?
No,
for that?
I know that, but it's just like there's so much pressure.
but
There's so much pressure
here's-
around that series.
No,
Like
I
it's
understand
ridiculous.
that.
I know it's silly, but I'm like somewhat susceptible to it. Like
But remember, Whimsy, I have a show that is pretty much universally loved that I have very meh feelings about. And the answer is you just don't say the name of the show ever, and you both know what show I'm talking about. Let's not
Do I?
say the name. Yes.
I'm having a brain moment.
But
Talking about
SAO?
SAO?
But no.
Because that's
No,
acceptable.
we're
You're
not
allowed
about
to not
SAO.
like SAO.
No, you know what it is.
What?
You'll remember it later. But I will say like JoJo, from what I've seen, like
okay. Got
okay,
it. On the same
Yeah.
page now. Go ahead.
yeah. But JoJo, I don't know. I'm pretty mixed on it. There's things I like about it. Everything with dogs. No.
That happens
That like
every
ruins
season.
so much of my enjoyment of the show.
Now that I think about it, that happens almost like every season. I kind of feel bad about that.
No, in the third season, it happens like every other episode.
Oh, that's right.
Are they hurting dogs?
Animal death is a continual thing in JoJo that's like where you don't want to kill off a random passerby because it seems kind of weird. So instead, an animal is kind of like the victim of like an area of effect attack.
Okay, I see.
And he kind of uses it like, oh, this thing got really messed up because this person is using their power in like this area. So now the characters are like, oh no.
Okay.
It's very disturbing. Like, I think like I would not go back to watch the third season just for that because I feel like I would not be able to go back to a lot of the episodes because it's just very disturbing to me. Just like when it comes to animal abuse, most animes are pretty good at not going there. JoJo goes there and really hard, and it's very disturbing to me when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's understandable.
It seems really strange because it's like usually a thing where it's like, what's a way we can make you care about something happening in a moment? And it's usually like, oh, a dog, it passes away because this person's like, ability attack. And it's like, oh no. Yeah, and I know which one she's talking about. That is a really crazy scene in general.
Mm-hmm.
It was graphic even in the manga because it's supposed to be like this character. Okay, I'm gonna tell. We're talking about the crow, right?
Well, actually, I wasn't talking about that one. Come to think of it, there's 3 different really brutal ones. Because there's the one when they were in Singapore.
Oh yeah.
Which was really brutal. Then there was the one when they were going through the Sahara. Sahara? No. It was when they were going through like the deserts in like Saudi Arabia or something. And then the one that you're talking about with the hawk.
Yeah, because I feel like the hawk one, it communicated a lot of things in that scene. Because honestly, that whole entire sequence is just really like crazy, and they do it multiple times. So it's like, how do we make you care that this hawk is just is like a sentient being, but he's a cruel person if he was a person. And they just go immediately to like dog dying.
I can understand why that would be rough to watch. I definitely will still watch JoJo at some point, but yeah, I could see why that would be rough. Because doggos and hawkos and I like animals.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's hard to argue, with valid criticisms of the series because I feel like one of the big strengths of JoJo in general is that in its iterations, it kind of switches up its own format really well. Like, that's probably the biggest, like, pro of watching a series of JoJo and being like, I wasn't really a big fan of that. It's like, oh, yeah, I understand that. And then you move on to the next season. You're like, I kind of enjoy this more. And then you just keep going on. It's like, I didn't really like that one. Next one, I really like that one. Because I feel like the thing that they nail in that series every time is the main character always seems really interesting, whether or not he's like fleshed out as like a regular person. Because there's always that anime thing of like the main character's like, I have to help everyone. I have to do the thing because I'm determined, right?
Mm.
And meanwhile, his like stepbrother is poisoning his dad and then trying to steal his inheritance and then also becoming a vampire in the streets of London. We're not going to worry about that part.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But there's like a continual thing that sometimes happens in JoJo where it's like something like that. Like they're trying to initiate a feeling in the audience. And I feel like sometimes it can be a little bit heavy-handed. But I feel like it's just it's a weird kind of like writing style thing. Especially from like older anime. It's like, how do we make you feel sad about something in terms of like, kind of like a formulaic way.
Oh, what time is it? Oh, it's about time for that commercial.
You can't swear.
Damn it. Have you ever been watching the new episode of Boruto and you think, wow, this universe is so immersive. I wonder if Just it up. Damn it. I can't do this. I can't do this joke. It's just so...
So, I definitely feel like different people have different favorite seasons. I'd say I've only watched the first 3 seasons, but I'd say of the 3 that I saw, my favorite was actually the second season. Because the main character was potentially strongest in there, and it did not have those scenes that the third season had that just made me cringe. And I think as far as like predictability, it had some predictability, but I don't think it had like the same level of predictability as like you might have had in the first season, for example.
Yeah, I would agree with that, honestly, because like Jojo has definitely evolved as a series over time. And I feel like the second series, even though it changes a bunch of things from the first one, it feels like the culmination of a bunch of things that he was starting off with, like in a writing way, in the first season. And they work really well. Like overall, the second season is like really satisfying, like a really satisfying experience. Even though it probably is like partly the strangest when you think about it. Like the fact that his like best friend slash side character is a man who blows magic bubbles to attack his opponents, or that they like get into this competition in a training scenario where they have to climb a wall that's covered in oil with their bare hands and feet, or that they get attacked by an alien who uses spaghetti noodles that shoot lava.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
That's not even the best part. I'm not gonna mention the parts near the... Oh my god. That season is insane. That season is
but in a
insane.
good way.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think like it also helps for that season, the time period that it decides to take place in, because 1930s, you have a lot to work with there.
Yeah, you do. And I feel like the thing with JoJo that's always really interesting, or like the part that I really enjoy, is that JoJo is always insane. And that's the consistent element in it that I really enjoy.
I didn't want the first season to be that insane.
Yeah, and honestly, when you think about it, JoJo season 1 is an older anime, and in comparing it to things like Inuyasha, it feels even more formulaic. I don't know if that's just my view of it, but in my mind, like when I think about the way the story progresses, it does feel like really old, like Saturday morning cartoon type thing.
Yeah. And it's so hard to say how much of it was like formulaic at the time it came out. How much did it set the standards for how things would be? Like as I'm watching Saint Seiya, I sit there and a lot of the lines feel very much like what people make fun of anime for being. But I also think to myself, how much of that is because this is what defined what anime was for the time period.
Oh yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. Cause like when you think about that old anime where it's like the person screaming at the villain like at the end of like almost every episode, like, I will get you, Lord Sishomaru, next time, baby.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling beef men.
For you meddling muscle men, meatheads.
Fact, and I only found this out recently through a YouTuber. I think it was Billiam that I was watching. Maybe it was another YouTuber, but apparently they, in the original Scooby-Doo episodes, they didn't end every episode with, I would have gone away from it with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Apparently they just, like, it was one of a couple of things that people just kind of thought happened a lot more than it actually did in the show.
That's not surprising. It's like those iconic those iconic episodes just kind of stick in your head, in your mind.
Mhm.
And I swear, like, just judging off of, like, reruns and, like, just watching things as a kid and seeing the reruns constantly, there are some episodes more than others that just play over and over and over of things.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what's really funny too is that like the way that Scooby-Doo exists as like an entity has become like almost self-aware. Like I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a webcomic centered around Scoob and Shaggy, and in it, all of the Warner Brothers cartoon characters are actually aliens, and they all have JoJo-esque superpowers.
What?
Yes, and it's like Scooby is actually a general in this alien army, and he is really powerful. And Shaggy is not. He is actually just a regular person. But a lot of the other members of the Scooby-Doo cast do have their own superpowers. Like Velma has a memory wiping power, and is the reason that Shaggy can't remember a lot of the stuff that happened beforehand. They also fought Mickey Mouse, who is the villain, which kind of makes sense when you think about it.
I mean, he is, but you know.
Yeah.
You mean Disney, right?
Yes, Disney is. Maybe we shouldn't say this. The mouse is always listening.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
He's omniscient.
He is in the webtoon as well.
Hmm.
No, actually, if you liked anything that I just said, or the fact that Bugs Rabbit has a ability that he can delete anything he touches with his bare hands, go check out Scoob and Shaggy, the webtoon. It is really, really crazy. It is very heavily inspired by JoJo, at least by my perspective, and it is very good. Go check it out.
Scooby-Doo, the best anime.
The best JoJo anime I've ever seen. Dang, those muscly JoJo
Oh, go
men.
on.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for them.
If it wasn't for those big, beefy muscle cheese men.
And copyright law.
I mean, considering the fact that like the characters are always like teenagers, you could say meddling kids, but like you look at these characters for JoJo, especially like the first few seasons, and you're like, you're a teenager?
Wait, they are? That's weird. I didn't expect
teenagers.
that to be a
The
thing.
main character for JoJo is like almost always a teenager.
Huh.
Yeah.
Except for like
The
I
third
think maybe
season,
the first
like,
season?
starts in a high school.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
okay.
always forget that. Jotaro is a high schooler when that story takes place. He's like, I think he's like 6'3" and he's like a bodybuilder. He's like a bodybuilder-esque figure. Oh, it's so funny.
I've seen like the character like drawings for JoJo a gazillion times that I honestly thought they were like 40-year-old men, but
No,
okay.
one of them is, and he looks
Okay.
like a grandpa. It's really funny.
Oh, it's like
Like,
it's
he-
like the
he-
Power Rangers
yeah,
thing.
like that.
You should tell them about the Power
Oh my
Rangers
god,
thing.
yeah, it is like that. I'm actually wondering how much of Power Rangers or the show in Japan actually influenced JoJo, because some of the things do come across, but like except for obviously the very obviously alien or like paranormal-esque entity that doesn't look human and wears like another like evil version of their suits, because it's similar to that. The English version of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had, it was like a bunch of high schoolers fighting evil when they're not, studying for tests or working down at the local youth center. Meanwhile, the Blue Ranger over here looks like a 45-year-old man. And everyone just, like, plays it off.
Eddie was so mad at me because like he didn't really like hadn't set in. Like, he was watching the show, and the fact that one of the actors was just 40 for no reason didn't set in, and then I had to point it out
Every time.
and he was like, "Now I can't unsee it.
Every
I hate
time
you.
you walked in,
I hate you."
They were just talking about, like, just general high school life. You're like, that man does not belong in high school. He's 46 years old. And I go, honey,
Wait.
please.
Wait, is
trying
this
to
the
enjoy
original
this.
Power Rangers you're saying?
Yes.
The actor was... What?
He was way older. And actually,
he might not have
it's
been
even
40.
funnier because in the follow-up to that series, which I believe is Zeo Ranger, he shows up as like a sensei type character who works with the original like overseers, and he's even older, and he interacts with the young like high school it's so funny. Because like she joked about it, and then he continued on like staying in the series, and he became even older.
But he still played like a teenager?
No, but he just played like a character.
Oh,
like
okay.
His high school self stayed behind to help the other rangers, and then he was just like this old man with like wrinkle and like smile lines in the background. It was really funny.
Yeah, Power Rangers, like, it's really interesting, like the story behind like the existence of Power Rangers, because it honestly sounds like someone just like threw an idea at a wall, having no expectation that it would actually like work, because it's really crazy. Like, let's take footage from another show and make our own show on top of it. No, we're not we're gonna just like have it work because everyone is dressed up in costumes. So heck, we can even like change the genders of some of the characters because you can't tell because they're in costume. And just kind of ran with it.
Oh yeah, like in the Netflix series, they describe how crazy it was trying to market Power Rangers into an American audience, and like the first couple of prototypes where they just like voiced over the Japanese footage didn't work out. It was actually one of the producers' ideas to have like English segments of the show and then mix it with like the obvious scenes from the Japanese show where they're fighting in costume, and it actually worked out really well, and a lot of people really enjoyed the show because at that point, wacky cartoons existed, but they had never seen something that was like so overblown and so like epic, in that these high schoolers are just hanging out at the juice bar, cleaning tables and talking and studying, and then suddenly they're fighting like clay golems from this space switch on the moon, and then she makes the golem grow to like the size of like a 50-story building, and they all pose and get in the robot and then fight the golem. They had no faith in it like actually succeeding, and once it did, it like took off. Like, it was a huge boom of, like, every kid wanted Power Rangers.
I feel like even I, like, very briefly, I was so young, but I have memories of watching Power Rangers, and then also the other show that I was watching around the same time, so I just associate these in my mind. I'm pretty sure this was for adults more than kids, but do you guys remember that weird show with, like, alligator people? Or like dinosaur. I think they were dinosaurs.
Oh my god, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The puppet one?
No, it wasn't the Muppets.
It was like
no, puppets.
It was like,
oh yeah, they were like puppets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two like show
What's
like
the show called?
That show and Power Rangers are like seared in my mind as like going together, because when you watch something and you're really young, so you don't really like retain a lot, but you just like retain the idea of it.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was
it's
a
called
weird.
Dinosaurs.
That was a weird show.
It was a sitcom. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was a sitcom. You don't think went extinct at the ending of that series?
That's what I mean. Like, it wasn't a kid show, I don't think, but I don't really remember it well enough to like know for sure.
That show was so weird.
Yeah, that show was bizarre.
That was the kind of show where I was so young and I didn't understand what's going on, and the costumes freaked me out. So every time I was flipping through the channels looking for something to watch, I would see it and go no, and I would just switch the channel immediately.
I feel like because those are two really specific things to be watching, I feel like maybe we didn't have cable or something, and these were like DVDs. Like, I really can't remember why I was watching these two very specific things, but those were like the two things I watched during that chapter of my life.
That makes sense.
I was very little.
Rangers was on Fox Kids for a while, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was.
So that might be why.
They also had some other random series too that they tried with the same format, because I actually thought for a while, like, my young brain mixed these two up, because there was a show I remember, it was called Beetleborgs, and it was so weird. It was like these kids found a genie, and the genie made them into like crime fighters with suits by like this guy. He would draw them comic book like personas, and the genie would make them come to life. and then he was trying to like trick them into like setting him free, but they refused, and then like some more evil people showed up, and then they got into their beetle machines and they fought the evil people. And I was like, oh yeah, this is just Power Rangers. And I eventually found a VHS of it later, and I was so like, oh, this is just a completely different show.
I remember you rewatching this as an adult on Netflix, because I remember you showed me like the intro.
Yeah, that show is insane. That
Seemed
show is
very-
actually insane.
Seemed very wacky.
It was because you know what's the eventual like way that they amp that series up is, right? Is the evil people continually fail and they're like, oh man, what do we do? And they go and they find the twin brother in the insane asylum of the comic book writer who made their like Power Ranger / forms, and they set him free
What?
in a jailbreak, and then they kidnap him and keep him in their evil base, and he draws evil comic book monsters for them.
Oh.
Sounds elaborate.
It's just so insane.
This sounds very elaborate.
Yeah. Oh my god.
There's another one that it's like I don't know how this ended up being a thing. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go.
Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Super Robot
Super
Monkey Team
Robot Monkey Team
Hyperforce Go.
Hyperforce Go. Like I don't even know. Like I don't remember a huge amount about the show. I remember like it's like, hey, this kid finds robot monkeys, and he's apparently gonna have to fight with the robot monkeys. And then he turns into a monkey, I believe, at the end of the first season. And then it's this like super sad moment. Apparently, spoilers for the end of the first season of Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, by the way. And then I think they resolve it somehow. I don't remember how.
I remember watching Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, but I don't
Super
remember
Robot
it
Monkey
at
Team
all.
Hyperforce Go.
I'm not doing that again.
I know.
The opening was the most memorable thing about the show.
It was, because that's all they said is Super Robot Monkey Team. No, I'm not gonna do
Hyperforce
it.
Go.
No.
Super Robot
No.
Monkey Team Hyperforce
No.
Go.
No. I know.
It's irresistible though.
It is not. I'm resisting.
You expect me to have self-control.
You watch anime, you're right. And VTubers now.
Oh god.
We're
But
not gonna talk.
but I don't know. There's some like really insane like shows that like exist for people's like for like that they like had on like kids television and stuff. Like Bobobo-bo is another like classic anime. Like what were they thinking?
Oh yeah. Everything about that series. I feel like if there was a show that always tried to be more insane than like the stuff that Jojo churned out, it was definitely Bobobo. Because Bobobo's universe didn't make sense, but everything in the Bobobo universe made sense to it.
No, there was the pink-haired girl that acknowledged that nothing made sense.
Yeah.
Clearly, she was from the wrong world.
I don't remember if like they had like alien invaders ever be a thing in that show. I remember there was a lot of fight scenes that I remember not making sense, and I couldn't. And that was the worst show to ever see reruns for, because when they took different parts of that show and then showed it to you, nothing in Bo-bobo-bo ever made sense. Like I remember this one time I was watching a fight scene and I wasn't even sure if it was a continuation, because he was just in a grocery store looking for the cheapest like tuna he could buy, and that was like a training montage thing.
Eddie, have you ever tried to explain Bobobo-bo to Whimsy?
I've never even heard of it.
No, and it is a lot. That show doesn't make sense.
Please explain.
And it doesn't ever make sense.
Go ahead.
So a man with a golden afro that looks like the guy from Fresh Baked Japan, right? He is fighting villains with his nose hair.
What?
Because it's magical or strong or something. Some sort of anime power has possessed this man's nose hair, and he fights people with it.
What?
And he eventually goes and he meets this pink hair girl.
Oh my god.
Who's getting attacked by these evil people, and a man that is dressed or looks like a cartoon rendition of the sun with arms and legs.
Your guys'
then-
childhoods were lit compared to mine.
Yeah, I remember watching that show on Toonami. I don't remember anything happening. Like I can't distinguish the parts of my childhood that were obviously just like things I imagined, and then Bo-bobo-bo.
No wonder you're so weird.
I watched anime that way.
I remember there was a what is that called? A bullet with legs in high heels.
Oh, I remember that. And it had like this really detailed like face. It was like a torpedo or something. It was like a sentient torpedo.
This doesn't sound like a show. This sounds like one of the like Inferno Cop, like one of those gag shows like a studio does. Was this like a real legit show?
This is a legit. It had like 54 episodes.
Oh my god, sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a gag anime, but it's like I can't explain it. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't.
I wish that my childhood had been this cool.
Well, you're not that cool anyway, so.
I watched weird things as a kid. Like, part of it was availability. Like, there was a period of my childhood where I had a very weird internet package. And it like, one of the only channels I watched was Discovery Kids. And, like, so nobody remembers the Discovery Kid shows that I watched. Like...
I only saw the series finale for this one, but I remember Days at Lake Halsey High.
Lake Halsey High. Okay, I was literally just gonna bring that show up.
I have no idea what that is. Like, I don't.
Okay.
Like, I remember watching cable because I watched Animal Planet things as a kid, right? And Cartoon Network as a kid. I don't remember anything on the Discovery Kids channel at all.
It's so funny that you bring that up now, because I was actually gonna ask the question of, like, does anybody have that show that they just got like so deeply invested in as a kid, and you wish you finished it and you wish you could experience it as a kid again, because now going back it like doesn't hold up right as much? Because for me, that was Strange Days at Lake Halsey High. Like, going back and watching it as an adult, it's just like a corny kid show, but that was an intense show. It's like, just going back to my kid perception of it, it's like this intense sci-fi like conspiracy show where like you're trying to figure out what's behind the mystery, and there's like this creepy principal and this like creepy guy, and you're just like so into it, like, oh my god, this is mind-blowing, like the conspiracy, like it's so deep. It's like the X-Files for like 10-year-olds. I'm so glad someone else remembers that show, even if you only saw like the finale. Like, god.
Yeah. So what happened was that one of my friends was super into the show, so she explained like a lot of the stuff that happened in it. So like I was really curious about it, so I watched the finale. So, but I go on.
No, go ahead. You first.
I was just gonna say, I recall that the finale, I thought it was pretty good as someone that heard the plot line secondhand from someone else.
I actually recently went back and started that show from the beginning just to kind of like see what the experience was. And you know what? I might actually watch that show, because as much as it's like kiddish, so it's like I don't get the same kind of enjoyment, I still found it like mildly enjoyable for like the nostalgia purpose, you know what I mean? And also, I kind of want to know what happens at the end so that I can like kind of fulfill young me's like investment. Cause like, I don't know, I have that with a few things. Like, I never read the last Lemony Snicket book, like A Serious Unfortunate Event, and I totally could, because those books are enjoyable for adults too. But it's just kind of like whimsy. Like, you loved those books, you were so into them. Why did you never read the last book? And it was kind of the same thing where it's just like I was so invested, and then I just never got to have that payoff. So yeah. I totally should go back and do that.
Yeah, my versions of that experience are I think I started both of these final volumes of both of these series and never finished them. I never finished the last volume of Shaman King or the last volume of Yu Yu Hakusho. It's kind of weird, because it's like I was literally on the last volume. I just had to read this. Like, they were both like over 20 volumes of commitment, and I couldn't read that final volume for some reason.
That's really funny that you didn't, because those were both great series to just not read the endings for, because they both ended really terribly.
That's hilarious.
It is. Because, like, I believe at the end, they don't want to spoil anything, but they meet the final villain, and they just decide not to fight. Because they
Wait,
would
Shaman
lose.
King or Yu Yu Hakusho?
Shaman King, I believe.
Okay.
And in Yu Yu Hakusho, I really don't want to spoil that, because Yu Yu Hakusho is a really fun, engaging series. It's a really nice old anime to watch. I don't want to ruin that ending, because I personally don't like it, but it doesn't mean that you won't. So go finish Yu Yu Hakusho, and you'll understand. I had no idea what the author was thinking, and maybe you do. You know what? If you've watched that and you're like, yeah, I liked it. Okay, go in the comment section. Tell me how you liked it, please.
Yeah. I'll finish those volumes at some point. I should definitely finish that last volume of Shaman King before the new Shaman King anime comes out, at the very least. I have no excuse.
You really don't. Also, I don't know if it's just me, but there's a lot of hype coming up around the Shaman King reboot. I know this is just like another one of those trends where they're bringing back an old anime, and like a lot of people enjoyed it as kids and now want to see it again for like that same nostalgia feeling. But they're really amping up that like this show is coming back. Be excited.
I wouldn't be surprised, and this isn't a show I've seen, although Eddie showed me a couple episodes, but I know that this would make so many people I know, including you two and some of our friends, super happy. I have a feeling that a Devil is a part-timer like season will probably happen within the next 10 years. Just given that,
I believe so.
Yeah, based on just like current trends. I know how happy that would make Eddie.
That was out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, how did we get to Devil as a part-timer, but you're just talking about, like, sequels?
Yeah, Eddie was
Yeah.
just bringing up sequels, and my brain immediately went to, like, what sequels is, like, the anime community just, like, desperately screaming for? And this might not be representative, but, like, every anime fan I know is just like, Devil's a part-timer. Please. Please.
Dragon Maid?
I would, like, sacrifice my firstborn to get season of a part-timer season 2.
You mean Dragon Maid? Yeah. Dragon Maid is getting a season 2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it
Oh
is.
boy.
Oh man, what show would I like a second season? Oh, well, this goes back to Billiam, his YouTube channel. We can include links to his stuff in the description. But he did a video about Zatch Bell, and Zatch Bell never finished its story, and he kind of pointed out, like, people are hoping that Zatch Bell is going to get a finale because Shaman King was announced and Zatch Bell came out around the same time. I really like that. I didn't really like Zatch Bell that much when I originally saw it, but then they had some of like new dubs when they had Toonami Jetstream, and I enjoyed it a lot more when I was watching it there. But like, it is another insane show, or at least the beginning is. Like, Whimsy, to give you an idea, this show starts with a high schooler in his room. You know, high schoolers hang out in their room all their time. And then a small child breaks through his window, flying in on a bird with a fish.
Sounds like an ordinary Saturday night.
Yeah,
I don't know what your childhoods look like, but, you know.
I don't know about you, but I've never had this happen where I'm studying for a test and a literal goblin child flies through my window with a yellow fin tuna in its goblin-like teeth, chittering and screaming at me that I need to become the Zatch spell master.
Wow, your childhood was boring.
Isn't it a thing too where like they're all competing to be the Demon King? And they're just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Why not?
So, is this something else you guys watched when you were young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show's weird.
It aired, I think, at the same time as Bobobo-bo.
Bo-bobo-bo-bobo.
That makes sense in my mind. Cause like there's all these times, so the little kid is like a puppet, right? It's like a sentient like puppet dude, and he's just obsessed with yellowfin tuna. So sometimes he just dives into like random bodies of water and grabs a fish and just comes back out and just eats it.
This is something I've noticed about anime. Is like it's just like a character thing frequently where like a character will just be obsessed with something like incredibly specific. Like I've never seen that in any other medium, but in anime it's like such a common thing. Just interesting side note.
Yeah.
Like in Soul Eater, how there's a guy whose whole like personality is coffee.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I love it. It's so great. Like, what did you say, Aunt? Now?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, when you're saying that, that actually reminds me of a series called Gun Sword or Gun and Sword, where it's like a mix between like kind of like what you expect from like Cowboy Bebop and like what you see in Trigun plus mechas. So it's like a show that's like kind of trying to be everything, and like you can see that with the main character because he has a lot of like those tropes of like you gotta have this quirkiness to him, and like one of like the core quirkinesses is that like he finds food to be too bland unless he puts literally all the condiments on everything.
That's
so like
terrifying.
yeah,
I think we had a roommate like that once.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like it's interesting. Like just as a side note about that show, it's a show that if you like things like Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, you should watch. But it feels like it's trying very hard to be like those shows, like not in a natural way. But like you'll feel a lot of like the undertones that like you might have liked from those shows. It's the best way I can describe it.
Interesting. We should because when I edit these videos, I always keep track of what series we talk about for the tags, but we should create like a Google Doc of like, hey, watch this. And probably never get around to watching it, but we should just like all the things we recommend each other, we should have like a shared common Google Doc. It's like our group Kitsu or Mal. Maybe
that sounds like fun.
We'll get to all of them someday.
But quirkiness is definitely common.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like the anime that focus on it a lot too usually have characters where it's like I'm really obsessed with this thing, and like all the other characters are like, can we just not do that this one time? He's like, no.
Oh yeah, like Kimono Michi.
Yeah, like Kimono Michi. Where they're all like, we need money. And he's like, but I love these animals.
Can I ask? I want to ask this to the anime community. No. I want to confront you all. Why the heck is Kimono Michi rated so lowly on Mal? Like, why? Excuse me?
Are you just coming for the anime audience in general?
I'm coming for you. Like, what are you doing? Come on now. It's really good. Like, what are you talking about? God. You silly weebs. And your inferior taste. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I understand people's issues with it. Like that one episode with the Griffins, I could definitely understand people would rate that a bit lower. No. But overall, I feel like it's a generally solid comedy series.
I agree. Like everything's entitled to like a week episode, but I think everything I've seen so far, other than maybe that 1 week episode, and even that one wasn't like atrocious. Everything's been like really good. It's made me laugh a heck of a lot, and honestly, like. I'm weird with comedy. Like I have, it's very specific, I guess, what makes me laugh. So I'll maybe that. Go ahead.
Go on. Sorry, I feel like I keep interrupting people. I don't know.
No, it's okay. I think we all worry about that because we all like don't worry about it. But I was just gonna say though, like I'm really specific about what makes me laugh. But then again, maybe that makes me not the right person to like say what something should be rated because if I have a different sense of humor than the average person, then maybe like I don't know. I don't have a right to say. But I thought it was hilarious.
You have a weird sense of humor.
I do. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say out now?
I was gonna say like a lot of these like comedy shows that I come into because of the premise often let me down. And like I feel like this show has not been the case. Like you have a wrestler that's obsessed with animals that is going to try to do everything to to protect his little furries, and that's what they deliver, and it's funny. I feel like I don't know, like series that like kind of I feel like fall flat with like their premises, where it's like this is a really funny premise, but you're not doing a lot with it, or actually like I feel like that about Devil is a Part-Timer actually, because it's like I kind of feel like they could have gone the route of like the devil being like, I'm going to kill you all because I'm like a part-timer and like this world, this is not like what I should be doing. But he takes his job basically immediately seriously, and I didn't find a lot of comedy out of that. So like I don't know. I feel like I really appreciate the like this like the pet whatever this pet the wrestler show it whatever it's called. Just because it takes its premise and it doesn't just kind of like put it aside. It embraces it fully and just goes insane with it.
And it satirizes isekai like beautifully. I haven't even watched a lot of like isekai anime, but I get the jokes. Like I really love the wait, is that a girl with cat ears? Like the way that joke was delivered was just so good because they're always so ubiquitous, right? Cat girls, like there's the thing. No one acknowledges them. The characters just have cat ears, so that like intentional acknowledgement for comedic relief was done so perfectly.
Yeah, and even taking that bit further, where she's like standing next to a wolf man with fur, and he's immediately like, "I have to pet that being. I have to," and then he tackles that wolf man to the ground and like viciously just like begins playing with his fur and nuzzling him, and the wolfman's like, please stop, please, I beg of you, let me go.
That whole scene was very silly.
Yeah
I really do enjoy the show, and I'm very curious now, like now they're like introducing like, oh, a new threat has arrived. I'm wondering what they're going to do with that, just because it's like I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those situations where he's going to be a villain for one episode and then he's going to join like all the attempts to try to make homes for pets, basically.
I feel like that's very likely. We really have to finish. Like I'm excited to finish that series. But yeah. Also, no, I feel a little bit validated by what you said about Devil's a Part-Timer, because I definitely want to give that show another try. But I do remember when Eddie showed it to me back in the day, like I really wanted to find it funny, but it just didn't give me, like, I didn't laugh that much. I felt awkward. I was like, I'm sorry. I know you love this show, and I really want to love it too. But so far, it's just kind of like, okay. Which is why if people are commenting, you're more than welcome to be like, shut up about Mal ratings, Whimsy. You have weird taste, obviously. Your opinion isn't valid. That's fine. That's fair. Sorry, now you started saying something. What did you say?
I'm gonna ask Eddie's opinion on specifically on Devil's a Part-Timer.
I would say that like I agree with you both on that, like having the premise stretch out in that type of way kind of like dulls the impact of like Satan and his like right-hand man have traveled into modern day Japan, right? Because I feel like there's something really funny about that initial scene where we get stopped by the cops who are walking around in cosplay, quote unquote, and they're just both like, I can't summon any magic power, I can't control this human, and the guy's like, oh, are you guys homeless? Like what's going on? And he takes him to the police station and he gives him like food, and he's like, what is this? And he's like, oh, this is actually pretty good and I'm hungry. I feel like that's part of the joke, but I definitely understand they could have gone a little bit more harebrained with it. Because, I mean, part of the comedy I find, especially in the beginning, is when the hero also gets a job, but then every time she sees the devil, she's like, I have to destroy you to save everyone back in our world. And he's like, but I'll just call the cops. And she's like, I know, so I'm not going to do it now, but I'll come back.
I don't want to give the impression that like humor has to be like extremely heavy-handed for me to find it funny, because like I also really like dry humor. So I'm not really sure like what specifically. I don't know. It's hard to pin down like what made it not work for me. I'd have to watch it again. That and Inuyasha. Oh no, my list of long-term homework is growing. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I think the general thing is just watch more anime.
Watch more anime.
Whoa.
That is true. Because, like, in the beginning of watching anime, I did kind of pick up on the fact that, like, a lot of things are funny based on having an understanding of, like, the tropes and, like, the community and the gags. And the more anime I've gotten under my belt, the more comedies I've found funny. So that is a very good point. Because, like, how long ago did you show me Devil's a Part-Timer?
I think that was, like, either the second or the third anime.
Okay, yeah. So definitely
yes.
that bias of like I don't get it could have been there. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. So again, disregard everything I say about Inuyasha and Devil's Part-Timer.
I still feel.
So
like
that means you're not on my side, Whimsy?
Oh no, I don't know.
You completely
Not-
deleted your
I-
positions.
Say-
And now A.N.I.M.E is just alone and on her hills for these shows. I
I'm
feel so bad
sorry.
for her.
I'm sorry, now. Okay, I will just like I will reserve judgment and then I will take a side once I have watched it again at some point. And yeah, I'm sorry to abandon you out now, and now you're alone on your sad little island and out at sea. I'm sorry.
Unpopular opinions, you're letting me take all of them. All of them.
I mean, that's okay. I have plenty of unpopular opinions, so I'm sure it'll come back around.
Yeah, I'm just happy I haven't said the anime that would get me burned at the stake, so, you know.
What's funny is I really can't understand why that's such an unpopular opinion, that you don't like that show that will be forever unnamed.
I
don't think I'm... Go on.
I imagine you're not alone. I love that show. Like, I love it, but I imagine you're not alone in not loving it. I do know that there are other people that also do not love it.
I don't know anyone. Actually, it's yeah, I don't know of anyone. Yeah, there's a couple of shows where I feel like there are the pitchforks out, and like I feel like another two that people would have pitchforks out about. I like both of these, so I can say them. Full Metal Alchemist and Steins Gate. They're both really good. Or Brotherhood. Both are good. I like both Full Metal Alchemists, actually. So
I can understand people having pitchforks over Brotherhood. Like, if somebody told me they didn't like Brotherhood, I would respect their opinion. You know, I'd be like, that's valid. But I'd also be like, God darn it, that's like the masterpiece. What's wrong with you? Like, there'd be like the angel and the devil on my shoulders. And I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. That's, you know, and then the devil would just be like, you're wrong. How dare you? It's a masterpiece. What is wrong with you? You just didn't understand it like I did. Oh man.
I feel like that's generally a thing, because we've watched a lot of series, or you've seen a lot of series coming into anime that like a lot of people see like really highly and treasure dearly to them. Like Angel Beats, I understand a lot of people really like that series, but generally I just find it, you know, underwhelming. Like, I like some of the things they do with the characters and the premise, but past that.
Yeah, that's a series I don't remember that well, because again, it was like a long time ago, but I do remember that being my impression of just like, oh yeah, this is good. Like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it.
And actually, we've had that issue as well, where like a show that we were very excited to watch because it was held in such high regard by, you know, a large group of the anime community, turned out to fall on its face multiple times, very horrifyingly. Ho 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 ho, Higurashi. That was actually really sad.
People do pick out their pitchforks that show, I'm sure.
They do.
So we should be careful. No, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, it is really interesting when there's a lot of hype about a show and you go into it and you're like, is this going to be good? That was one thing, like going into Demon Slayer, I was really concerned about, because like I had seen so much hype, and Attack on Titan too, to be honest. Fortunately, both of them I've actually really enjoyed, but you know, there's almost more tension if there's been a lot of hype, because you feel that possibility of like, what if I disagree?
Yeah, I definitely get that too. Because as far as I've seen, any time that someone comes out and says they don't like these shows on Twitter, it always turns into like a raving madhouse.
Okay, but that's just
Of
Twitter.
like, yeah, no, I understand it's just social media in general when you're talking about anime, but like it's always really funny because like this person's like whether or not this person feels this way, the the fight against their own opinion is always hilarious to me. Because like I understand generally people do have some uh some issues with Demon Slayer's story and its main character, and it's really interesting too because like generally I think about it and I feel like Demon Slayer generally takes that Saturday morning cartoon-esque like idea, but it builds upon it really really well. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I really enjoy the series. And generally, when I see people's like the positive reviews on it, that's sort of the same sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do like the main character. I think mind you, I've only watched about 7 episodes so far, so I haven't gone super deep. But my biggest issue is with how they treat the sister. There's some stuff there that's kind of concerning, I feel like.
Yeah, and honestly, when you think about it, that show has a lot of strengths in character building, even for characters that only exist for one arc. But when it comes to like general things about one of the characters in the main cast, i.e., his sister, it's really strange. But I feel like it's one of those things where it's like when you watch anime, generally storytelling, as important as it is to building a show up, it's sometimes just not the main focus. And it's really strange to see that in a medium that focuses so much on like telling different types of stories because it spans so many types of like fantasy settings and characters and their motivations. And I feel like in this, it's just one of those things that like falls by the wayside, and everyone still enjoys it otherwise.
So what is the focus then, if not the story? I'm just curious, like for clarification, because I haven't seen Demon Slayer.
Oh, I just mean like in the sense that they don't focus on telling more about the sister.
Oh, okay.
Like it's just not the focus of the anime. They kind of progress upon things with the other characters, but it's understood that the sister in itself, right? It's in the first episode, so I'm not really sure if I want to spoil it, but like it's a point of there is a group of villains, and a little sister, not by her own choice, joins them.
Okay.
But stays with the brother, and so he continually has to explain to people why, even though she's like this, they shouldn't get rid of her. And that's kind of just the way her character stays for a lot of it. And they do eventually build on some things, with her and just like their familial bond. But generally, that's as much as they do.
I guess like.
Go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna ask: is she kind of like a Kimiko character, like from The Boys? Is it like that, or is it like where she's traumatized by something, so she like doesn't talk?
In a way, yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to get some idea.
It builds off things like that. You would have to watch the show to like get a fuller grasp on it, but
okay,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, now.
I'm just chuckling because you're right in ways that I don't think you realize you're right.
I mean, I can kind of make some guesses based on just like the way we're. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, one of the things that bothered me, and I think it's okay to say this, but they do this thing where they change her perception of the world. Like, someone actually like manipulates like her understanding of things, and they're like, it's kind of like presented as like, okay, cool. And I'm like, but I don't know, it feels more like you're treating her like a puppet than like a person when you do that. Eddie, do you know what I'm talking about?
I kind of do, yeah. And it's really strange too, because like you think about it, I don't genuinely remember a lot of shows in this current time like just having a character that they push so hard to the sideline. But Demon Slayer, and I feel like it's funny that I say in my perception of the show, in my review of it, I really thought like them building upon the general like stereotypic idea of how like a hero versus evil anime kind of goes, it kind of suffers from the same sort of weaknesses that those older shows do.
Yeah.
My
I go on, Whimsy.
I was just gonna say my list of things to watch just keeps getting longer and longer.
I feel like you should definitely watch Demon Slayer
I feel like
in a somewhat recent manner, because like it's one of those things where it's like there's a movie coming out, so it's definitely in a span of this story will likely get dragged out, if not serialized as it's going, and it's ended actually. So
I feel like I need to make a game plan. Like, I need to make a game plan for consuming anime, because there's so many that I've, like, started and have to finish or, like, want to watch, and then there's some I'm watching with you, some I'm watching with other friends. I need to, like, sit down and just, like, make a game plan and, like, okay, no new anime until this benchmark. Like, these 2 series or this series. Like, it's just getting out of control.
you need to watch more anime. Stop breathing. Stop consuming other content. Anime.
Maybe when my eyes are not broken anymore, I'll watch more anime. What were you gonna say though? No, I'm sorry. We always end up talking at the same time.
I was just thinking, this is my rule of thumb for you. As someone that went to Japan earlier this year, I feel like the 3 animes that you should have some level of consumption, or maybe 4. I actually would say 4. Like 4 animes that you should have some level of consumption of before you go to Japan and, like, you know, get consumed by the general presence of anime in places. I'd say the 4 would be One Piece, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, and My Hero Academia.
Only 4 anime.
Only 4.
Let's not mention that one of them is 1,000 episodes long.
I like have
only
some
4.
grasp.
Speaking to some of my friends and coworkers, I've actually found that someone started the series like not 2 months ago. They're already past you.
I mean, that's not surprising. I haven't watched it. I've been watching very gradually.
You watched like 40, 50 episodes.
It's because it's so long that I have to do that, though. If I do not space it out, like if I try to marathon One Piece, I just won't watch it. Like, I'll just burn out and be like, no. I have to space it out. And so maybe in about, like, 6 years, I'll be done. I'm sure there'll be periods where I binge a little more.
That's likely around the time. I can actually say that's likely around the time that One Piece will be ending. So
okay, so
that's not a bad thing to say.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
Just a ballpark. You know, it's hard to estimate with these things. I also have to finish the Universal Century timeline of Gundam, so it's like.
Oh, that's a lot easier though.
Actually, yeah, we're a lot further along that process. I have to watch Victory Gundam. I think that's the last like 50 episode show, and then it's just OVAs, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're actually making good progress on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I need to like sit down and make a game plan.
Actually, speaking of game plans, but first I want to ask now. You've seen One Piece? Yes?
What's a One Piece?
Good point. Let me just let you know.
I've seen 2 Piece.
There is one piece of it.
I've seen 2 Piece.
That she has seen. And how do you feel about it, Whimsy?
Wait, I thought we were asking Aunt now.
Well, I was asking her. She said, what is One Piece? So that answers my question.
She's told us before. She said she's seen some of One Piece. She hasn't watched like all of One Piece, right? Am I getting that right? Aunt now?
Yeah.
All right.
No, but I'm just saying, because in consuming One Piece, right, I've kind of thought about it a bit and structured your experience around arcs instead of by the episode that we're just watching at the time. Do you feel like that's generally improved your experience in watching it with a longer form show?
I actually very much appreciate that you've done that for me by arcs, because I will say that overall I have enjoyed One Piece. But I think that's because it's been structured by arcs. So like the parts of One Piece that I haven't enjoyed, it's like I know that I just have to get through this arc and then it'll be something new. And I can look forward to it because I've really enjoyed some of the previous arcs. So yes, I really appreciate you doing that for me. Especially because like in my experience so far, One Piece can be very enjoyable. It can also be like a slog. Is that how you pronounce it? Slog? Like
It can-
sluggish. There we go. It can be very sluggish at times, to get through.
Mhm.
So knowing like that like sort of the arc format kind of gives you like a symbol on the horizon that like something new is gonna come up, and it can make it easier to consume. There were some arcs that I absolutely like just adored, and I'm really glad that they happened early on to kind of like hook me, because I feel like the first few arcs really get you like attached to the characters. I really like Luffy. Luffy?
I think it's Luffy.
Luffy. Okay,
Yeah.
I really like Luffy. My favorite character so far is Usopp.
Mhm.
I loved Usopp's arc. Like, I really loved Usopp's arc. It was so wholesome and like engaging, and I just loved his little like pirate gang, and I loved that he would tell her like tall tales and she didn't even mind. Like, she knew they were all lies, but that was just how they bonded, and she was sick. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that whole arc. It was just so wholesome. It made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I'm really glad that those happened like early on. And then there were some arcs that like I wasn't as crazy about, but I really do look forward to, as long as I pace myself. I do look forward to like continuing One Piece. It can definitely be work though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those shows where it can feel like a chore at times if you're not like in the right mindset for it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Like, one of my favorite characters is Sanji, right? And I love when they start introducing his character, but the arc in which they introduce him in is not the most exciting. I definitely understand that.
Parts of it, yeah.
And parts of it I could see, and you're just like, I just want to stop. Can we stop after this one? And I go, yes, yeah, I get that. But I feel
However,
like-
I think that had one of the best backstory things. Like when he's stuck on that island, that
Oh, yeah.
was yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, that arc was punctuated by some really good points, but what I think what Eddie's talking about and referencing is like the parts where it's just battles for episode. And yes, a lot of One Piece is just fighting, like fights that take 10 episodes, but for some reason that one in particular, I just got kind of bored, won't lie. But I agree that it was punctuated by some good parts. Like, I did really like that part with Zoro and that like
Hawkeye
infamous
Mihawk.
Swordman. Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkeye Mihawk.
I love like the memes around Zoro where he's just like gets torn in half and he's like, I just need to sleep it off. Like, it's like it's so good. So I did enjoy that. And I didn't like, yeah, I did like Sanji's backstory. He's definitely not my favorite character. I know, I'm sorry, Eddie. I know he's your favorite.
It's okay.
But I did enjoy parts of the arc for sure.
Yeah. I was saying, like,
Just to clarify for everyone, I'm a Zoro fan, Eddie's a Sanji fan, and Whimsy is a Usopp fan.
yeah.
I'm an Usopp fan, but like I won't say that that's solidified yet. Like, I'm still very early on in my One Piece journey, and I will say that since Usopp's arc specifically, they've done very little with him. So it's like I may not end up being an Usopp fan if like they just because I really like Luffy. Like, I feel like Luffy might end up being my favorite, but it's kind of too soon to say. I love Luffy's like sort of like goofy idealism, because idealism is just like, it's something I like. It gets me. Like, it's something I'm very sensitive to, where I really like it. So we'll have to see.
I'm definitely curious too, because like you'll see over time the characters in One Piece. It's the kind of show where it drags out fight scenes, but the characters progress so much that like by the time that you've invested in the show, you just know on hand which characters behave the way they do, why they are the way they are, and you love them all. Like, I love all of One Piece, like a lot of the cast, and for very different reasons. And I think about them all the time when I'm thinking about like how certain characters should function in my own like writing projects. So I'm really excited for you to get further into the series.
See, just hearing that makes me want to watch more, because I do love the idea of getting like that invested and like that in depth with like characters, and I can kind of see after 800 episodes of this how that would be true. I'm sorry. No, were you gonna say something?
I will say though, I don't feel like they do much with Usopp as a character for a while.
For a while. Okay.
Yeah, I would say
again-
like, oh, go on.
when a show is 900 episodes long, I feel like I almost still have to, even if we're like 60 episodes in, I still have to withhold judgment. Like, like I can't decide yet. I feel like maybe I won't decide till like episode 900 or something. Because 60 is not a lot in relative to, Sorry, what, no?
I was just gonna say, I don't know. Maybe you have to wait until you reach 1,000.
I know, like, it's too soon to tell. Like, it's premature.
How could you judge a series without watching it in its entirety?
Oh, man.
That's a standard I hold to myself, and I know that's crazy. I understand that.
I think...
Because, like, that's established for shows I don't even like, I have that standard.
I think you could have a measured opinion, but I think that, yeah, like, you should always acknowledge that, like, hey, this is probably flawed. Like, I've said that a bunch so far during the podcast, because in order to do this podcast with you, because I just don't have, like, the extensive background, yeah, sometimes I do have to give my, like, initial impressions on series, but I always, like, want to acknowledge, like, hey, this is probably really flawed, and I'm just giving, like, my initial understanding. I would never claim to, like, know a show, like, that I haven't seen. And I love what Eddie does, and I do occasionally, like, I probably will do this. I feel like I have done this. But Eddie really commits to hate watching because he wants to feel, when he hates something, he wants to feel 100% validated, like, no, this is trash. So he will make his eyes bleed. He will sit through, like, the entire thing just to be able to say, I hate this. He does it with video games, too.
Yes.
But now I want to know.
Yes.
What are the ones that made you bleed the most?
Oh, that's not a good answer. Because I've realized that, like, in my time of hate watching, I will say there is one series specifically that ignited the flames of hatred within my soul.
Can I guess? I think I
know.
No? Okay.
We will not say the name of
Okay.
this cursed anime. But I will say overall, my passion when it comes to establishing that I've watched as much as I can in terms of content for a series before I make a judgment on it has made me come across parts of series that I really don't like that are still enjoyable if like in an isolated way. Like, there is a film for this series that I really don't like, and that film is really well done. It's probably one of the only parts of that series that I actually enjoyed, and they did a good job adapting it. That is all I will say with that. But as far as detailing a list, I can't. But I feel like within that question, now you were asking if it's the series that you're thinking of. It is not, because the movie that I'm thinking of is on Netflix and was developed by Netflix, and I'm thinking their help was part of the reason why it was so good. And the movie that I watched for the series you're thinking of is not good.
I don't know if people will comment on this episode because, like, by the time we get, like, consistent comments, it will probably be old. But if there are comments on this episode, like, 80% are probably going to be people like, what are they talking about? Because first, A.N.I.M.E didn't want to say what that series was. And now you don't want to tell us this. So just, yes, please theorize in the comments.
Yeah, just, you know what?
What are these?
You know what? How about that? You guys can contest in the comments of which series it is. I will contact you privately, and if you're right, I will tell you. So have fun.
Can I, like, give a little hint or, like, a guess at what it might be? Is it an isekai?
It is not an isekai because it takes place in the real world.
Oh. Okay, so it's not what I thought it was going to be.
I don't think you'll guess it because I don't think he's talked about it really with you, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Do I know what it is? Was I around when you were hate watching this and you ranted about it for like,
and I believe there's only one other person who's heard me rant about how much I dislike this series, and he is not here.
Okay, I know what it is.
Oh, I have another guess. Is it based on a really old show?
It is not.
Okay.
It is old, though.
It is
Can I
older,
say that?
though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is older.
Okay, it's not what I was thinking. Okay, dang.
Yeah. And I feel like generally in in a sense, it just makes me feel better about my opinion because generally I really don't like criticizing things that people like, but I feel like in a sense when it comes to anime as well, they put so much commercialization into like how this show gets adapted to like in a visual format to people, and I feel like when shows just take that as like a standard of like, okay, so now because we're appealing to people in a visual form, we should get more, attraction from the audience. And then when that's just done in such a haphazard, lazy way, it just really frustrates me because it's like the idea is that you were pushing for more audience and traction into the show, right? Into the thing that this came from, and it's just fallen flat. I'm curious if that's because of the written form, and then I go to the written form, and then I find out whether or not it's the same sort of thing. Because like nothing frustrates me more than watching a series and not enjoying it, and then finding out the written form is good. So that's kind of like where that stems from in a way. And like Berserk is just the thing. Only the movies for that series have been like.
Did he just say it? Did he just say the show?
I did not say it. I did not say it. That is not the name of that series. The Cursed Series. I'm going to call it now. The Cursed Series. And that is really sad because Berserk is a really interesting, a really engaging story about a man who deals with demons, both physical and within his own mind and heart. And the only good thing about Berserk is the movies, because the show, even the most recent show, has so many flaws that it's barely passable as an adaptation. It's so frustrating. It really is. I feel like it's one of the worst things about being an anime fan is loving a piece of media or a show, and then when it gets more attention, gets that push, and it falls on its face, then all you have is what you can fall back on. And Berserk barely has any of that. Also, you should read Berserk. Berserk is really good. I will warn people, it is very graphic. It is a very dark story. But Berserk is one of my favorite stories that I've ever read.
I will say I wasn't expecting you to say Berserk, but I didn't
isn't
know
the
that
show,
about
though.
the movies. What?
Just so you know, that isn't the show, though. He transitioned to talking about Berserk, but that's still not the mysterious show.
Yeah, because I was I was explaining an example of a series that, if someone just came to the anime and didn't like it, they would just drop Berserk entirely. But that is not the Cursed Series. The Cursed Series exists in its own way across multiple mediums, and 90% of them are bad because they stem from a bad thing, and I hope that it stays that way. I hope it stays locked away in its crypt forever. The Cursed Series.
People are going to go to the tags hoping that maybe as like an Easter egg we put it, and no, we're going to write the Cursed Series the tag. It's going to be one of those videos tags.
Thank you.
Man.
I hope people go back to the series and just like... I'm sorry, go ahead on
Go ahead on
I was just going to say, I feel like it'd be really interesting to do an episode about like the shows that we hate watched. Because I have a few that come to mind. Drifting Dragons, I already mentioned earlier, being one of them. But there's other ones that would be interesting to discuss.
I have one that I didn't hate watch, but was like let down by really, really hard. But at the same time, maybe like I always want to qualify my criticisms because I feel like when I watched Scrapped Princess, okay, spoilers ahead. When I watched Scrapped Princess, I hadn't yet seen a lot of like the way the anime blends fantasy and science fiction. So maybe I would have picked up on some of the foreshadowing if I had been more familiar with that in the medium, and maybe it would have been less jarring. But my experience of like the genre flip, where it's like as if you're watching a totally different show, it was like watching The Walking Dead, and then like midway through episode 6, you find out that the zombie virus was created by magical fairies, and you have to travel to like the fairy realm to like stop the evil fairies from making everyone zombies. Like that That's
Spoilers?
how I experienced that genre flip, and I was so livid because I was enjoying the show.
Wait,
until
is
that
that
point.
not what happened in Walking Dead?
She just said a huge spoiler. Jeez.
Oh my god, honey, how dare you spoil the twist in Walking Dead? How dare you?
Oh my god. But yeah, that genre flip just, to me, it's a tie. My subjective experience of it. It was jarring, and the tone of the show changed. Like, for the, like, I don't know. So I wouldn't say it's hate watching, but that was definitely like something that I raged about for days, and poor Eddie had to listen to me because I was just like, I was enjoying the show, and then suddenly it's a different show. Like, what the heck? But I feel like maybe now if I watched it, because I'm more familiar with the ways that like the anime blends sci-fi and fantasy, maybe I would pick up on the foreshadowing more and being like, okay, maybe my opinion was kind of like not great or not that valid.
Foreshadowed it a lot, to be honest. I don't. I think. They just dropped the ball.
Oh, you've seen Scrap Princess?
I have.
Oh, okay, that's validating to know that it wasn't just me. Okay. Yeah, so in that case, screw you, Scrap Princess, you're a bad show.
I was gonna say, watching over your shoulder, the times that I was just curious about what that show was about, I feel like it started when I saw a toad kind of like T-pose across the screen, which that is how I will describe that. I walked in, and I was like, oh, you're watching Scrap Princess, and I watched a toad float across the water without changing its position, like it was T-posing. And I was so confused.
I don't think that was supposed to be foreshadowing. I think that was just the animation.
No, I know, it was just the anime. Like, I understand that might have been an animation, like, quirk of budget. Kun just not existing at that moment. But nonetheless, I was so confused. So I watched it over your shoulder, and no, I'm with you, and they just dropped the ball.
That made us laugh so much, but it also always reminds me of that scine where Aang is running from the Unagi in Avatar because it's similarly poorly animated for no reason. And hilarious. Like, I'll always associate those two scenes. They make me laugh, like, so much. I'm sorry, now, did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything this time.
Okay. I feel like whenever Eddie says something, you and I respond at the same exact time, and then we're like, "Oh no, sorry, no, you go." So
we just share a brain cell. That's the problem.
But yes, I'm so glad that you also didn't like Scrap Princess. It makes me feel better. Like, my opinions are valid.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate the whole show. Like, there were parts that I really liked, and I think that's what you're saying as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like the ending, there was a lot of build up to the ending where it's like no, and then the ending itself, it's like, okay, where's the rest?
Yeah,
it was very, very odd decisions there.
Mm-hmm.
And see, when I get to anime like that, that's what makes me curious about like the written form of it for like the manga. So it's usually where I jump off into that. I would not do that for Scrap Princess. Sorry to say. Like, I'm thinking about it, everything that led up to it, and I try in that to like think about how it's adapted, and it ended up that way. And I don't think anything about the manga, if it's not like an anime original work, would make me interested in consuming more.
Yeah, I probably would have been interested in that if the ending, like, even if the ending had been bad, if I still might have been interested in that if the ending had been different than what it was. But given what the ending was, I don't think the manga would have given me more in terms of what I liked about the show than the show did, or at least not that much more, because I really enjoyed like the cult stuff and all that, but just learning what all that was based, like the resolution of it, I agree. I don't think I would go to the source material to get more of what I liked from that show particularly.
Yeah, I think like it's very interesting because Scrap Princess isn't a well-known show, but I don't think it's because of how badly it dropped the ball at the ending that it's not well known. So like it feels strange because I realize that most likely almost like zero of the listeners of this podcast will know about this show, just because it's pretty obscure. but it has a lot of the trappings of a show. If it had come out today, forgetting the ending, I feel like it would have actually done pretty well, at least like in terms of like popularity and recognition for the beginning of the show.
It might have. I agree. But we are currently having an audio issue. Your mic's doing that thing again.
Yeah, this might be a good time for us to kind of wrap up.
I was
anyways.
gonna say that, like, we're having an audio issue, and also Eddie and my stomachs, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but they just keep screaming at us like, go eat, please. So I think between those two things, it's probably a good time to wrap up. I wanted to briefly say that this was a different type of episode. We didn't have like a theme. We just kind of wanted to like spitball our thoughts and just kind of see where the discussion led. So hopefully it was enjoyable to listen to, but we'll definitely be experimenting with like more formats in the future. And yeah, any closing final thoughts?
Muscle men get in the way of my schemes again. That should be the title.
Muscle men get in the way of my schemes again?
Yes.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for the fact that everyone's named Jojo.
All right. And have a great week.
Have a good time. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
I love VTubers. I'm a simp.